Okay, so this is our case study of Charlene Johnson for our group diagnostic assignment. So Charlene Johnson is a 28-year-old African-American woman who is divorced, but currently lives with her boyfriend. She has two children, Charlie, age 6, and Tinny, who is recently deceased, age 3. She works as a grocery store cashier, and she has no medical problems, substance use issues, or prior mental health conditions.
A little bit of background information on our case. 9 days ago, Charlene was getting off work when her ex-husband drove into the parking lot of her workplace at a high rate of speed and flung Tenny out of the window. Um, this happened 20 feet in front of Charlene, and Tenny ended up hitting a light pole and fracturing his skull. Upon witnessing this, Charlene fainted. Tenny died at the scene, and her ex-husband was arrested 4 hours later. He's currently being held in the county jail without bail for bond, and he is being charged with first-degree murder.
So some of the presenting symptoms that we see, her boyfriend describes her as out of her mind. She calls out to her deceased son and kind of like searches for him. She's been having outbursts. She had an outburst at the funeral, shouting that the child was not her child that was in the casket, and tried to take the child out of the casket. She hasn't slept much or eaten. She appears very disabled and scared, and really isn't aware of to know the day of the week or time.
She's also unable to respond to our questions. She appears very agitated during the interview. She states that she's very, very tired. She's not ready or able to discuss the death at this time. And in a matter of fact, she hasn't even talked about the death yet. She hears things that aren't real and paces all night long while she's singing lullabies. So we feel that the most likely diagnosis for her is acute stress disorder. In addition to the criteria from the DSM that we're going to discuss, I also found an article by Bosclair. It states that there's a higher prevalence rate among females for acute stress disorder. So another reason why we chose this. So according to the American Psychiatric Association, one of the criteria is exposure to the actual threatened death. She actually witnessed her son dying in front of her. She does have 9 or more of the following symptoms. For intrusion symptoms, she had an intense reaction at the funeral when she saw her son in the casket.
With negative mood, she just hasn't been able to experience positive emotions. She's just been in a constant state of worry and concern and just not really there. With her dissociative symptoms, she just has inability to remember important aspects of the event. So she kind of has no recollection of the event and won't talk about it.
For avoidance symptoms, again, avoiding memories, she has no recollection of the event, and she believes that her son is missing rather than deceased. Efforts to avoid external reminders, we feel this is in conversations. She hasn't spoken about the event since it happened.
With her arousal symptoms, she hasn't had really good sleep, hasn't really slept since the event. She's been very irritable with her husband, had an outburst at the funeral, is having hypervigilance. So just kind of stay up at night, pacing, looking for him, thinking that he's gone and she has to go and find him. She struggles with concentration. So she's kind of not able to comprehend the questions, just not focused. And she has exaggerated startle responses. So when she was asked about the event, she kind of, startedly jumped up and put her clothes on and saying that she has to go. She needs to, leave to go find him.
For duration of the disturbance, she does meet this because the symptoms started when she witnessed the event, which happened 9 days ago. So it's under 1 month. And it has caused clinically significant distress or impairment. She's unable to focus, and she is not able to take care of her son, who she still needs to be a mother to.
And finally, she has no medical conditions or substance use issues, so this can't be attributed to anything else.
The other possible diagnoses that we came up with were adjustment disorder with anxiety and brief psychotic disorder with marked stressor. Adjustment disorder with anxiety, emotional and behavioral symptoms to the stressor within 3 months. It's only been 9 days since she witnessed it. Marked distress out of proportion. We can't confirm that because we don't know what the marked distress in proportion would be to seeing your son die in front of you. Significant impairment in social and occupational or other functioning. She hasn't been able to be the mother to her other son. stress-related disturbance. She has no prior history of any kind of mental distress. The symptoms do not represent normal bereavement. She doesn't believe that her son is deceased. Once the stressor or its consequences have terminated, again, she doesn't meet this criteria because she's only had the symptoms for 9 days. We did say with anxiety because she does appear agitated and worried.
So brief psychotic disorder with marked stressor. Stephen and Forshing categorized condition as one or more of the following: delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, and disorganized or catatonic behavior. So she has one of these, which is hallucinations. She has been hearing things that aren't real. She's been hearing her son talk to her or her son come into the room. For duration, the symptoms have to be at least 1 day, but less than a month. And this is one of the reasons why we think this wouldn't apply to her, because we don't know yet. It's just too early to tell. Not better explained by other conditions or medications. She has no, previous issues. And then we said with specifying with marked stressor, because witnessing your son's death is a marked stressor that would make anybody be stressed out. So why is this not the diagnosis? Well, just like before, it hasn't, the time isn't there. It's only been about 9 days. So we have to see whether she exceeds over a month or not. In the course of the illness, this would most likely lead to PTSD. So approximately 50% of people with acute stress disorder develop PTSD. So we would have to really monitor Charlene and determine the trajectory with her symptoms, if she recovers or not, and yeah.
For cultural considerations, we don't have enough background information on Charlene to make any cultural determinations. Special considerations, she still has another child that she needs to take care of. Her ex-husband killed her child in front of her, so she probably has a horrendous fear of him. Also, she needs to get better so she can assist with the prosecution of her ex-husband, as well as getting back to taking care of her other son. And also the death occurred at her workplace, so we don't know whether she'll be able to return to her place of employment. And this is a list of our references that we used for our presentation. Thank you.
And that is it.